Hi guys, so I've been asked over 100 times, David, why don't you make YouTube content or why don't you make videos? So I decided that today I'm gonna help my friend Vashko build his drone, and basically what we're gonna build is a clone of this one. This is a naked, it's called a NakeX, and it's made by FPVFrame from Switzerland. I believe this is one of the first designs this way that I saw. I really like this frame. There is a very similar frame by Phil Fraybot that I've also tried. I like it a lot, and but I fly FPV frames. But basically the two are almost identical builds. Well, all the parts except the frames are exactly identical. The only thing is the way you build Phil's frame is a little bit more difficult because of the upside down motors, but to the rest everything's going to be the same. So let me tell you what you need for you to build one of these. So you're gonna have to go online and order from FPV Frames the frame, which comes like this: a top part, bottom part, the hardware. Usually you get these straps, which I really enjoy, and I'm gonna show you why. This strap here is really what made me solve a big problem that I had with building this frame, and I'll show you that why. So don't lose this, you really need this. All right, after that you would either print your own stuff. So I'm printing my own TPU, which you can see here. Oh, and basically, yeah, if you don't have a 3D printer, ask someone to print it for you, or when you order it, tell FPV Frame you want the prints in whatever colors you want. They do lots of colors. So you've got the frame. You need a flight controller. Now, I'm gonna be honest. I am, or I used to be, a KISS person. So I used to like flying the KISS flight controllers, but I really like these. These are the JHMCU. Now I've tried, I don't know, maybe 10 different of these all-in-ones, and I've got to say this is by far my favorite. All of them have flaws. There is not one that is perfect, in my opinion, all right? So everybody has their opinion. I'm not a Bardwell. I'm not somebody drone mesh going to hook this up to a computer. I'm going to fly it, and I'm going to fly it for a long time, and I'm going to tell you what I think of flying this. And I use these in video productions. I'm not after the cleanest log or like, oh, this has the least prop wash or whatever. I'm only after results. So, and knowing that it's not going to drop out of the sky and hit somebody on the head. Now, why do I choose this one, and what is the only bad thing about this one? So these are very fat, it's heavy. I'm going to let it go. You can hear when this hits, that noise just shows you how heavy this is. So actually there's two flaws. Number one is these pads that you solder, the plus and minus two, are a bitch to solder onto. I'm going to be real honest. It's a bad design. It's a really bad design. And because there's holes, some people think you're supposed to stick the cables through there and then solder. Don't do that. Don't do that ever. And as you can see, the negative here, I don't know if you can see that, the negative is way too close to this USB. So when you start tinkering with this and it's not going the way you want, you're going to send solder into the USB. You can't use the USB anymore. And yeah, that's why I have another drone, this one here, and I went to fix this here cut off, and I went to fix it. As you can see, I've soldered on the bottom part. That's because it lost the place where you solder onto it. It just came lost, and here there is solder that went into the USB. You can suck that out, but I've been too lazy, and basically that's the only bad part about it. Otherwise, these are amazing. For a drone like this, 25 amps is well enough. For that one I will go 35, but for this one 25. When you buy this, you do get these Rubicon capacitors, 35 volts, 470, which means you can fly this on a 4S setup. I would not fly these on a 6S setup. There's a gazillion videos that will explain why. There's an XT60 connector here, and if you lift this up, we will most definitely find more hardware here. So don't throw this box away. I'm going to show you how you're going to repurpose this box in a while. That's where I'm going to put all my screws. So here's the cables. They're a little bit thin, maybe not for this build, but if for a little bit more amp hungry, you'd probably need that. So let's put the controller on top of this, so it's a little bit anti-statico. Throw this away. We're going to need these. That's why I put them in there. All right. After that, you're going to need a Crossfire receiver, and here's the one that I ordered, just arrived. Here we go. All right. Now, David, why don't you use the DJI controller? Well, I don't like it. As simple as that. I don't like the controller. I like the Tango 2. I fly the Tango 2 with all my other drones. I'm used to it. Stick movement, memory control. There you go. Here's one. I like it with these antennas, and I will show you why I do not like the Immortal T. Hey, everybody has their opinion. That's mine. So let's throw that away. Also, with this, you are going to need motors. All right, so I've tested around 6 or 7 different motors until I got to these, and I love these. And the Drone FPV Racer site, I can put some links in the description. They sell these, and I mean, these motors are golden. These little nuggets, you can really feel the magnets in them. And when you get these, the one thing you need to do is you need to softly just start applying pressure like this, so this doesn't, you know, push down. Just do that on all motors. Now to the most expensive part of all of them, which is this little nugget here. All right, so Caddx Vista Nebula Pro. Why would I go with this one? It's light and it's good. And it's not the DJI Air unit, which is a huge bitch. All right, so here we go. Open that right up. And what have we got in here? We got ourselves the air unit with a little bit too long cable for what we need, but we'll figure that out. We got the antenna, and I actually am starting to like these antennas a lot. I've seen that they do give me good range. And we get this cable here that I'll probably not use because I'll just use some other cables I have, and I'll keep this for another day. A couple of screws for the Caddx camera that we're going to set into the drone. Now, this is one of the last things we're going to mount on the drone, so I'll put that aside. And we'll start with all of these screws. I'll show you these boxes that I told you that I like to keep. So I'll keep these boxes, and this is where I'll put all my hardware. I won't need this immediately, so I won't open that one. And here we go. Here's all the screws we need. Doesn't look like a lot, but it's enough. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start mounting my motors on. So I'll show you one, and then I'll cut to when they're all on here, and I'll show you a little bit what I do. So these are pretty long. They're way too long, as you can see. So these are the screws for the propellers. So I'll put those right back here because I don't want these mixing with the other ones on the table because they're all going on at the same time. Now, there is one thing you can do if you want to be anal about things, and this is the part where my video is not allowed to show them to kids anymore, is if you want to be anal about this, you could always put there's like this Loctite blue stuff you put on here. It's like a little glue, and you can put it on there. And what I do when I do put it on is I'll stick it through first, and then I'll put Loctite on it. And you want to make sure when you mount this that you don't get it wrong, and you just tighten just a little bit. Pull the cable, see that it's correct. Turn it around. Why did I not tighten it all the way down? Because it was so much harder to get the second screw in. And I'm going to show you guys a little trick here, because sometimes these get stuck and you wonder why my motor isn't working, or why you burnt an ESC if it's not a good quality one. let me show you guys that on this motor, and then I'll just cut to when they're all on here. So if you look in here, you're gonna see, can you see that it's getting stuck? I don't know if you can see that. That little ring inside is getting stuck. That is bad. So let me explain why. All motors are not the same, and when FPVFrame designed this frame, they probably tested it on a couple of motors and it worked out fine, so it's not their fault. But if you can see this little, I don't know what these are called, these locks right here, that is grabbing onto the frame. That will cause vibration, a motor could burn, or an ESC could burn. This is super easy, and I don't recommend anybody do this. I'm saying that because when you do it, if you screw it up, it's your fault. So what I do is this. That's it. Just like that. A little bit on the other side. Get a screwdriver that doesn't go in the way. And now you're going to see that when I put that in there, it turns. You see? Perfect. That's all it takes. Just a little bit of this. So, do it. Here we go. And you really don't need to do it on both sides. I was just doing it to show you guys what it looks like. Oh, and there's going to be somebody in the comments saying, you should never do that. I've been doing it for like 5 years, never had an issue. Alright guys, so I've gotten the motors on, and just to tell you guys, these are the X-Nova motors that I was talking about, and they are the T1404 3800 kV. I found that for 4S, which is what we will be flying these, they are the best. If you want to fly 3S, you'd have to go a little bit higher kV. I do believe they have some 4000 or 5000 kV, but for me, out of the ones I've tested, and I did test the 3S, this is what gave me the best flight time. On the 650 Tattoo batteries, I've gotten 6 minutes 30, but I brought that LiPo pretty down low, and you probably don't want to go that down low. Alright, so now I'm going to put on the flight controller on this thing. So that's when we have to decide how to mount it, which I usually do like this, or like for the back. And on this one, I am thinking I'm going to bring the leads coming out from the back. If you look at this one, I brought them in from the side, but I am thinking that like here you can see it's coming in from the and out to the side. I didn't like that, so I'm gonna go back to my old way of doing it, which is bringing the cables in from the back, and that's what I like doing. Now remember, the front is the one that has these holes, and you can see the arrows pointing forward. I have done it backwards 2 or 3 times, and in the middle of the build you're like, oh crap, I'm doing this wrong. And on the flight controller there is an arrow. On this one it's here, which tells you which is the front. You can mount the flight controller any way you want. You can. You just got to remember that in the configuration software for Betaflight, iNav, or whatever you'll be using, that you need to set it correctly, and I can show you that later on. But basically, this is how I'm going to have it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to pre-tin everything where I know I'm going to solder, which are the Crossfire, the cables for the camera, which I always forget to put, and the motor outputs, and the XT30, which I said XT60, but it's XT30, and the capacitor, and I'll show you how I'm going to mount that on this build, and the Caddx Vista, of course. And there's a little trick for how to get the Caddx Vista on this with my mod. So to start off the solder, what I like to do is put this paste all over this baby. Some people might not like doing that, but I do. So there you go, that will make it flow. So get the motor outputs. And the good thing also with this controller is I know what I want. I want 2 UARTs, and if you look very carefully, you'll see that there is TX6 RX6 here, so that's 1 UART. You have other ones up here in the middle, you have other ones over here, and you've got here the 3. So I'm probably going to use this and this. So let's put some soldering on there. Boom and boom, solder paste. Alright, then put some solder on it. As you can see, I already put a little bit on here just to test, but basically what I do is this. Bring it in there, you see? And one more. Just take it easy. You don't need no hurry. When you build these things in a hurry, it's always when you make the bigger mistakes, and it's gonna end up costing you more time. So there we go. And as you can see, you can go a little bit like that as well on it. I like doing that. That will really tin it up. And then the RX pads are so small. What I like to do is I put it on there and just go beep and touch it. One like that, and the ground. So for this one, I'm also going to want the 5 volt because that's where I'm going to put my Crossfire. As for the video transmitter, the Caddx, I only need the TX, the RX, and the ground because I'm going to be pulling the positive from here. Let's do the other motor. That's looking pretty juicy. As for the positive and negative, I'm going to do my plan right now because that's where I do most mistakes on this flight controller. This flight controller, as I said, the problem is over here, and that sometimes these come loose. I think they could make a better job for sure. So what I like doing on these is I've actually started, if you look at this one here, there is enough space to put it on the bottom if you would like. So that's probably what I'm going to do. I'm going to have the power leads coming off the bottom and then filling it with a little bit of cut king so I would never get a short circuit, and then use the top for other things. Why? Because I don't want a big blob of solder near this and going in there again, because that destroyed it last time. So get some more solder paste and just all over there, a little bit more on this one. There we go. Now I was using 480, that is a big exaggeration, but that's just because I touch it for a couple of seconds. Let's go down to 396 will be fine. Could be correct, could maybe not be correct. So fill that up. There we go. Fill this one up. There we go. Remember there's a hole in there. It's going to be filled up. There. And so slowly, easy does it. Perfect. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to put these leads on here, and you see that is a little bit short. You can work with this. If you're not good at soldering, you could probably cut up a little bit more and use that. What I do is I dip this in this old ass solder paste that I got and just heat that up right like this. Never like this because it'll just drain into it, but more in an angle so it doesn't, like the solder. What happens is when you, this is actually quite good to know. So if you have it like this and you're applying solder, it will go inside here and you will feel that the bend will be like further down. And right now you can feel that the bend is over here. Sometimes you want the bend to go in. Sometimes you don't. In this case, I don't. And what I'll do is I'll put the plus here, so I'll heat this one up first. And then so you can see how this moved. What I do is I put this for weight and just hold that until it heats it up. Bam. You see that? That is a good solder. That is a good solder joint. I'm actually quite proud of it. Now that we got that solder on here, I would like to get a little bit more onto here, but I don't want it to flow into the USB port. There we go. This one can have a little bit more. So on the top side, we need to remember that we want to get a couple of things on here. The capacitor, the power cable for the Naked GoPro or whatever other camera you will be using, and the Vista. So basically on the positive you can have 3 things. This cable, this, and the Vista. Now, should you just put this straight on here, and this is touching the frame, you will send vibrations to the flight controller. I know lots of people solder this directly. They will solder a capacitor directly to the flight controller. That's fine. I'm not against that. The problem is, if you look at this one right here, that's where I noticed a mistake. You see this? it's resting on the frame, going straight to flight controller. That's why it's here, because it's going off and it's going to be redone. And as these are hard to work on, that's going to take a little bit more time than I wish it would. So let's not make that mistake again. And how do we solve that? We cut this here and we put cables. So I'm going to give it about that much of a size and that much of a size. Alright? Now, I do want pretty good power to go to and from this. You don't need to be crazy with it, but I'd probably go with, I have no idea what this is. This is 22 AWG gauge. That is, the higher the number, the thicker the cable. 22 is fine. I probably have a little bit of 22 in black as well. If you don't have it, you should order it. You should always have these things on hand. Now, let's see how much we need. We're gonna put this on the side. So this is enough. That's perfect. Now, how do you make this super simple? Let me show you guys. Dip it, just the pins, in a bit of solder paste. Get your solder up. Clean that iron. Do as I say, don't do as I do. I use a little bit of a dirty iron, but you shouldn't use as dirty as I do. But then again, I know how to check if my solders are good. I believe everybody. There's a lot of hate online about who solders best and what you're doing right and wrong, but basically now I'm going to teach you a little cool trick. So if you grab this and you pull on it like this, so I'm locking it, pulling it out. Actually, I did it wrong. You hold it and you pull it in. That's the way, yeah. So you pull that in. It's a little bit hard with such a short one. Cut that more or less over here. Show you guys. This is a question I've seen online a lot of times. So I'll just dip it in solder paste. It's easier. Now, when you're going to solder this, so we fill it like this. Now, on a capacitor, what is plus and what's the negative? This side is the negative side. You see this gray line? That's the negative side. So what I like to do is like use something to rest up on it like this. I like putting them on the inside because it's just going to make it look better, in my opinion. There you go. Turn that around. Boom. Get that a little bit better. It didn't come in like I wanted it to. There we go. Really inspect that so it doesn't come loose. Then I'm going to grab it and pull on it like that. Didn't come loose. Here's the trick. Grab here and pull out. And you can actually pull this pretty much over it. Sometimes you can, some cables you can't. And then we're going to get a little bit of this guy here. You put that on here and do one at a time. There we go. And I have my... So I got a heat gun. If you don't have a heat gun, I know a lot of people don't have heat guns. You can always get a lighter. Now I got one of these. This is ridiculous, so I won't use that. But you can get a lighter and gently get it. Now, you want this to come down as far down as possible. There's a couple of ways of doing this. One way I've seen people do is they'll grab a pair of tweezers and they'll pull shit down like that. And then they'll heat it. Try not have anything behind that could melt. But basically, like so. Once it's grabbed, you can do this. Don't heat up your fingers. It could burn you. And then with my fingers, I'll just make sure it's nice and tight. There we go. That's the negative. Now, just repeat the same thing for the positive. Alright, great stuff. Now, how short do you want this? As you can see, I put the screws on here, and I know that this is the long side, so I'm going to want it on this side. And the good thing is I have another one built so I can actually look at the other one, because you want to see how much space you're going to have, right? So I'm gonna want this thing more or less. Well, there is a USB port there. Forgot about that. God damn it. So I'm gonna want it more or less over here. So that's gonna make this cable go here, about so, and this one over here. But I don't really like that way of mounting it, so now I need to think about where I'm going to put this, because as you can see on the other one, I didn't put it in a way that I liked. So I'm going to think about this, and I'll cut to it when I figure it out. We're back. I've decided, well, I hope I've decided how I'm going to mount this. So I'm just going to cut this as short as possible, which is going to be right over more or less here. There we go, and there we go. And I'm just going to put it straight backwards and see how that goes. And if it goes well, I'll use this in the future as well. So there we go. And take away this. That one was a little bit more. There we go. All right. Now we're gonna need to tin this up. Get our trusty soldering iron. There it is. All right. Talk about solder while this thing is heating up. This is the one I use. I did use another one. I didn't like it, and now I'm using this one. I was using this, and it would just mess up my solder heads. This is the Good Bay. So it's not goodbye, it's Good Bay. And Good Bay to you. And now we're using TBS solder, and zero issues. Zero issues. I'm not able to get rid of this damn guy. All right, there we go. Tin this up. Neato. Get some more solder. Tin this guy up. Fantastic. Now we cannot see which one is the positive anymore. Well, I can, but if you couldn't, remember, negative. So the negative's on this side. And we're going to do this. You can see how I got that. So what am I going to do? I'm only going to do that. Actually, yeah, I'm going to do the, let me just think here. So I'm going to do, I only need negative for this. All right, good. So on the positive, I'm going to solder on later. There we go. Don't want this to flow in. There we go. That's done. I'm going to leave the positive because I'm going to solder 3 cables onto this, which is this one, the Vista, and the power for the Naked GoPro, which we're going to do last because we need to measure it. That's why I'm going to leave this to absolute last. Now, what can we do now? We can actually put the bobbins in, and we might have to cut them. Put these bobbins in, just roll them forward and back. Super simple. I really enjoy these. I wish they were in a different color. I'm not too keen on this yellowish, but I mean, drone's gonna fly. It's not, you know, it's not important colors, but I would have preferred another color. So this one's a little bit harder to put in. What you can do is just grab one of these and put it like so, and then roll it here. Roll it forward and back, and there we go. It's in there. All right, great. The provided screws do not fit this build. I'm gonna say it now. Provided screws that come with this do not fit it. I've had to use these ones that are a little bit longer than I would like them to be, but they work because the Caddx Vista, when on here, will be like so, so the screws will stick up around it, which is fine by me. So I'm just gonna put 2 screws in. This is just for measuring, because I will take this off, especially if later on you want to make these waterproof. You're gonna have to undo it again. So now what we do is we're gonna measure this, and we do one at a time. So we do the one bottom one first. I'll bring it like so, bend it over, and put it over here. And I really like to have a little bit of slack on this thing. So what we do is put this over it, and boom, that's it. Keep these cables. They're very useful for other, you know, whatever else you want to use them for. So let's go, boom, and like this. All right, you've seen me do 2. I'll do all the rest, and then we'll cut to when I've done all of them. All right, so let me show you guys one thing though. Why am I cutting off the protection of the wire like this? Because I did use one of these tools that you cut these off, but it's happened way too many times where I'm pulling, it goes wrong, and you mess up the cable, and these are made to fit, and there's no way for you to solder on the motor. So you're gonna have to cut it and make an extension, and you know what? I'd rather take my time, like I said, take your time, and do it in a way that I know I will not mess up, which is this way. I mean, look at these, they're all perfect. So that's a tip for you guys, right there. Let's tin the motor cables now. One thing, don't tin anything close or over the flight controller, because you could have small pieces fly into your flight controller. If you're new at this, I would suggest putting tape over the flight controller. Now I'm being lazy because usually I do actually put, let's see, this one, yeah, it's looking good. Because you might fling a little bit of solder onto the flight controller, and that could do a short circuit, and you lose a couple of euros or dollars or yens or rubies or whatever. There we go. This is tinned. Let's just tin a little bit more on this side. There we go. Alright, so now for the next step. Dun, dun, dun. I'm going to need this guy. And it's much easier to solder from one side to the other. So before you start, think about what side you want to start on. And for me, it's going that way. So I'm going to put a little bit of tin on solder on this guy. Grab this, bend it back, and then I'm going to bring it into where I want it and hit it with the solder. There we go. Check that out. How good does that look? Perfect. Then the same thing on this guy. Bend it a bit. And these are not the best tweezers, and they were for free, so I can't complain. Whatever brand they are, I'm sorry, but you don't make the best ones. Here we go. Boom. And filled. And the next one, bend that as well a bit. I'll show you guys how to make this. There we go. This is so finicky, but with patience, you can get there. You can do it. All right. See, now, just make sure that this is going straight like this. It's just looking butter. Look at that. Later on, I'll put a tape over this. You don't need to, but I like to, because I like it nice and neat. And as I didn't solder this, you see I can move it as well. If it was stuck on here, I couldn't move it. Now, I can move it out of the way, which is good. Now, how do you know which cable goes to where? It doesn't really matter, because you can change it later on in the what's it called? The BL Heli software. And here we go. Let's do one more. I've put all the motors on, soldered them really nice and tight. Then I'll grab one of these and pull a little bit on them so see that there's nothing wrong with my solder joints. I'll inspect them, because this is really important. You don't want one of these to come out mid-flight. One way of testing if the ESC or a motor is bad once it's been soldered on is turn them, and all four should have the same resistance. And if you hear something or something's wrong or something's grabbing, find out what it is. Do not try to arm the quad or fly it, or just power it up if you feel that something is wrong. Alright, this is looking pretty clean and nice. Let's get to the next part where I'm going to put on the rest of the screws on this, tighten it up, put on all the others, what are these called? The risers here, and let's get to it. Alright, try to find my screws. Here they are. So here are some that I found that fit, and you probably want to know what size that is. Let me find that out. This meter is is not the best one, but this is basically 12 millimeter. So 12 millimeters is what I'm going to be using for holding my FC. So we'll put one in there. Oh, and I don't like to tighten these way too much. I'll just tighten them until they grab, and then go for one little bit more of that. Here we go. These are so small and see-through, you can hardly see them. There we go. Alrighty. Okay, so tighten that down. Now, it's really, really important that nothing touches the carbon. Many people get into drones and do not know this. So carbon is electric conductant. So if you have positive and negative that touches carbon, you will get a short circuit. If you don't believe me, we're gonna do a test. This is very important to know because I've had a couple of accidents because of this. So when you touch, it beeps, and if you go like this, it's not beeping now, but trust me, it's conductant. There you go, look. It's beeping. Carbon is conductive. It's very important. Never forget that. Because if you have something loose and both of them touch carbon, fire. Actually, that's actually how I got the nickname Fireball Dave. Alright, that looks pretty good. And I'm looking under it and seeing through to see if there's anything there that could be touching, and there isn't. That's just perfect. Alright, this is looking really good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount these for the camera. So let's get some of these screws here and put one through here. Okay, like so. And we'll get one more. You'll see that there are more holes and they're not going to be used. That's if you fly analog, I think, or use another camera. I'm not sure. I've not had to use them. And if you're building this, you're probably going to do it digital like me anyway. But if you don't, try and find out. Don't need to put that tight yet. So that's where our camera is going to be mounted. And here are my 3D prints. Now, here's another tip. You can heat these, if you can't get it in good, you can heat them up to get them in easier. I'm just going to open up this hole a little bit, open up this hole a little bit. Now, there's supposed to be a way here, and I think this is, you can see this hole's a little bit higher up here. That's what I want, so I know this is this side. I want the higher up in the back. There we go, this one. Like so, and if it doesn't go in, you can heat it up with a heat gun or something, and you're good. That's pretty decent. Let's just test fit our camera here. That looks perfect. The Caddx, the wire goes downwards. I wish it came out in the back, but it doesn't, so it comes out down. So this is the way to have it. Now, let's have a look at this. Looks really good. Now we're going to solder on all the cables that we need for the Crossfire and for the air unit here. So I'm going to go get some cables that I just happen to have here, because I always keep these around. So we're going to get some yellow ones. We're going to get, here's a long yellow one, we can use that. And I'm going to want, here's actually another yellow one as well. And, wow, that's really long. I don't need two long ones. And I wish I had a black one. There we go. So we got a black one. Now we're going to need a red one as well. I think this is maybe too short. And I've got some more cables right here. There we go. Oh, I'll go for a green one as well. That way we know what everything is. All right. So, where are we going to need a positive lead? We're going to need positive for the Crossfire, and we're going to need positive for our air unit. So, what I'll do is I'll put, first of all, a little bit of solder on these. These come pre-tinned, but it's a good idea to just give them some more. So here is our, I'm going to do the, let's see, so I can pull the cable through here or here. I will probably do the Crossfire here. Yes, I'll do the Crossfire on this side. And it's going to be my RX3. I have to remember this, but that's easy. So there we go. Look at that. Looks good. Now, a black one on there as well. Thought I had some black ones. We'll have to go get some more. Here we go. Get the longer, the better, because later on. Oh, and what I'm doing right now is a big mistake. Holding the soldering iron. Always put the soldering iron back. Do as I say, don't do as I do. Okay. Negative. And this is really close to the rubber thing there, so just a quick touch there. There we go. Looking real good. Then we want to get for, we'll use, so I'm going to use white and blue, I think. So you should use a tool to do this, but as the cable is long enough and I know I can use my nails for it, I'm going to be using my nails on that one. And there we go. Put this on here. It doesn't matter what color you use, it only matters that you get it right when you're hooking them up. And here's another question I get sometimes. Whatever's RX here will go to TX on whatever you're connecting it to. So RX goes to TX and TX goes to RX. Extremely confusing. That's just the way it is. Sorry, I didn't decide it. If I could, I would have had it in a different way. RX one on here. There we go. And I'm not going to solder anything to them yet. I'm just going to have it on there. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other one. Only one thing's going to change, which is I am going to put the cables inwards. And what is inwards, you ask? I'm going to show you guys. So I like to have my quads as clean as possible. And you see these went out. This one is actually going to go in, and I'll show you why in a bit. So that one's over there. Ooh. I don't know if you saw that, but as soon as I let go, it moved. That means the solder didn't grab well. So let's do another one. Make sure it really grabs well. There we go. That will not come up. Alright, we got one. And you see this is way too much. So I'll trim it down. Put a little bit more solder on it, because you can never go bad with that. Here we go. A little bit more. Boom. And put that on there. Okay. And then we're going to want a negative lead on this one as well. So I'm going to have to go look again for some longer black cables that will be long enough. And I'm guessing that this one will be. Yes, it will. So we're going to put a ground on here. This one was really well tinned, I can already tell. So there we go. And we got our ground. Awesome. So what do we need now to do the positives? Now, in order to do the positives, I need to know certain things. So this is the cable that is used to power the Naked GoPro, which is what we will be using. We do not need this yellow cable. And I am the firm believer of, if you don't need it, just get rid of it. So first thing we're going to do is get rid of this here. Pull that out. Yellow cable is out. We now own one more yellow cable we can use for other stuff. Perfect. I love to twist these up like this. Alright. And here comes another pro tip. We're going to sleeve this thing in a bit. So I know that the GoPro is going to be more or less over here. It's going to go through in there. Alright, it's going to go under here, all the way to these. So I'm just going to cut it, give it a little bit of slack, and we're going to cut it over here. Now that is the positive. The negative, I'm going to hook up to wherever I want. I'm going to hook it up to this one, but I could hook it up directly to the battery lead. But as I told you guys, I don't really like this flight. I love the flight controller, just don't like that those connectors over there, so I'm just gonna put the negative lead on here. Trust me on this, guys. I've been through so much with these controllers. That's what I learned. So this one's a little bit harder. We'll do it the way you're supposed to. There we go. 1 and 2. And I usually always forget this. This time I didn't. And I actually don't have a script here. I should have a script of telling me how we're supposed to shoot this video. But I'm proud of myself that I'm remembering it this time. Maybe it's because I've been through it way too many times. Alright. Now this cable is not the best. So there we go. And what we want to do here is look at this and see that that's what we want. I'm going to get one of these cables. And I want it to be probably a little bit longer than this one actually. Let's get one of these. Okay. Cut that down a bit, so I know it's going to be like that, and I want it more or less there. Okay, there we go. Thread this through here, and it's going to be a pain. It usually is. Actually, this time went nice. See if we can get through the whole way without me getting mad. I'm getting mad. This is not going my way. Usually it does. Ah, I'm almost through. Almost through. Come on, baby. Yes! Be through! Alright, so I'll just roll this a little bit in the end and pull this. There you go. And then we'll roll this last part up. Unroll this one. And make a little cut here. Looks like we're good. And we'll do the negative. There we go. The negative goes on here. Actually, that was wrong. Show you guys why. I want it like this. Because I want it to go flush around the things here so that it doesn't hit the Vista on top. I want to give the Vista as much of a fighting chance as I can to get space, which is very important. Alright, so this looks really good. The positive is going to go on here, and we're going to need one more positive cable, which is for the Vista unit. So we're going to have to look for a red cable. We have one right here. It's going to be this one. Now comes the hard part. Soldering together 3 things without it messing up. Good luck, David. Ladies and gentlemen, please be quiet. It's full concentration mode. I hate this part. It's the one that I usually get wrong. So I'm going to need that over there. And then I'm going to put these 2 on top of it. Let's see if I can do it. Alright, here we go. So this one's on. Almost. Come on, baby. There we go. Gonna get a little bit more solder on here. And looking good. Looking good. And now comes the worst part, which is you need to put one in a way that you can put the other one on top of it later on without it coming off when you solder the other one. That makes sense? No, not even to me. So, get more solder on here. I just want it to be on a little bit. Then I use a lot of solder just to get it to hold. So, hold that as close as possible. There we go. That one came off. This is what I was talking about. Now, you could take off this nut. Could make it easier, but we'll see. We'll see. There we go. I think we got it. That's it. And this is not going anywhere. It's touching the nut a little bit. We can probably just... There we go. Now, I'm going to play around with this and see if it comes loose, because you don't want this to come off while... Oops, sorry. Hit the cameraman, sorry. Alright. This looks really neat. And we're going to give it some tugs here to see if this doesn't come off. It's looking really good. Perfect. I think we have it all set for the next mission, which is going to be installing the Crossfire. Tin this down a bit, get just a little bit of solder. I thought these were hard to solder when I started, but now it's easier. You just get a lot of paste on there, just pull like this, just a little bit of solder, not too much. Don't put too much, just a little bit. See that? Just the last one that I'm not getting, put a little bit more. There we go, that's enough. Now, what we want to do is we want to measure where we're going to keep this. I know it's going to be here. And what I do is later on is I'm going to feed this through here. It's going to be like lying over here, like so. And I know for a fact that I want it like, that's the negative. And I know that the positive is the next one. So I'll just pull the positive here. And I'm giving it a little bit of slack. Why? Because later on I'm going to be twisting it. And I'll show you guys how I do that. Alright. And then it's the... So now I'm not sure. The TX is the white. And what I do now is I go on Google and I type CRSF Nano. You can see it's already in my search. And I love opening up this picture. And I'll see that channel 1 is TX and it goes to RX. So this one needs to be the RX, which is the last one, which is the blue one. Great. So get that. Remember to give it a little bit of slack because we are going to twist it. There we go. And if that's that one, this is the last one. And if it's the last one, these are going to be pretty much the same length, you'll see. And there we go. Put that there. So. And if you look, it's going to be almost the same. I'm going to cut it over there. There we go. Alright, good. And now, I'm not going to do this with my nails because I don't want to make any mistakes. Alright, while I tin these, let's just cut to that part. So I told my cameraman, this is not cinema work. So now we are using a little bit closer aperture, so it's not going to be out of focus and in focus. So it might get better now, or it might get worse if you like that bokeh. And for all my Brazilian friends, aquele boquete. Alright. Let's try and put this on. So this gets tricky. This is where we need the helping hands, not for the first one. So let me just show you guys what I'm going to do here. That one you're probably not going to see. That's my negative lead. Alright. Now these are helping hands. I'm going to bring these guys out. I'm going to show you guys how I use these. This one's dirty. Alright. There we go. And grab somewhere here. Okay, put that like so. Hope Mr. Cameraman can get this. Let's put that down a bit. Okay, my tweezers. Now I know for a fact that negative is the first one, then it's positive. Wouldn't it be fun if it wasn't? And I turn this off on. Trappy would kill me. Alright, there we go. Okay. There you go. See that? Easy peasy. Now, we know that this one is the last one, so this one is the next one in line. If you, for any reason, don't have radio signal, you're going through everything and you've tried everything, probably you've cross-wired. You got your RX on your TX and your TX and your... actually, you got your TX and your TX connecting. That could be a reason why you're not getting any signal. It could be 1,001 reasons, but that is one of them that it could be. Alright, this is so finicky. I might have have to bring out some other tweezers. So, well, we need another tweezer. No, there we go. Yes. Okay, that looks good. Last one. Worst tweezers ever. I did mention they were for free. There we go. Check that this is holding on pretty decent. It is. Nice. And then we pull it out like this. And we twist it once and twice. You see that? Ta-da! So we'll put that over this, like so. Before I do that, I would really like to see that it works, so I'm just going to leave this here, and I'm not going to power that on until I get the XT30 soldered on here, and we can get that tested. So I know for a fact how long I want this to be, which is this is going to come out here, and I want the XT30 to go more or less to here. So let's look. Yep, looks good. It's on the black one here, so boom, boom, boom. There we go. Cut it over. Put this one just a little bit. There we go. That's about it. Yes, sorry, Bob. And Bob's your uncle, we got it. Now let me show you guys some more tips here. One thing, I'm not going to forget it this time, but I usually do. I should probably film all my builds. I'm not forgetting anything, it seems like. Now, first you tin it. After you've tinned this, don't forget to put the heat shrink first, because you can't otherwise. So this is far away from the flight controller, so I don't need to worry about. Now remember what I said about if this was standing up, it would roll down. In this case, I really want the solder to go in here. I really do want it to go in there. It's gonna make for a perfect joint. And this is where power meets the cable for the first time. Here's our XT60. Some people might not know this, but the positive, it's indicated here, and the negative.
XT30.
XT30, I'm sorry. Cameraman is right. XT30, I do too many XT60s. Alright, now I was just about to forget what I said I wasn't going to forget. And now I need to find some heat shrinks. Probably going to have to go get some heat shrinks, to be honest. Where are you? There, we got some here. No, that's not big enough. That's not small enough. Here we go. This one will do. Yeah, this one. So the heat shrink you want has to go over here. That's the perfect one. How long you want it, you decide. I'm going to want this much to make it look good on the other side. Usually what I do is I align them like this, and boom. There we go. You put this as far in as you possibly can, because the heat will go along the cables, and it'll make your heat shrink get stuck on the cable and you can't even pull it anymore. And the longer you're touching this, the more chances this happens. So there we go. Pull this all the way in. Get our trusty helping hands. Put a little bit of paste. Boom. And boom. Put the helping hand like this. And then just, you don't want to fill it, because then it'll be harder. You just want it to have like this. That's enough, you know. You just want it to boom, especially XT30s. Got it right this time, camera. All right, and then I'll do the positive first, and you should put it like that so that it really is perfect. All right, but I'm not gonna do it that way. Maybe, yeah, actually I think I am. So put that like so, and this dumbass. There we go. Negative, and I want this to stand up. And to get it to stand up, I'm going to look for something that could hold it up. I think this will do. Yes, it will. Here we go. Back with that. Alright. Negative. Like so. So it's going to go like that. The better you align these, the better you align the chakras, the better it will be. Okay, so here we go. Come on, baby. Not easy. There we go. Oh yeah. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Perfect. Now, look on the other side. That is damn perfect if I do say so myself. Turn it around. Bring this a little closer like so. Soldering iron in place. Put that up here. I mean, you might not have all these things at home, but you could probably make something happen, I'm sure. Okay, and there we go. There is something else you could have done, but I've done it before, but I don't do it anymore because it's just tedious. But just let this set. You could put a heat shrink here just to make this cable a little bit nicer. I've done that in the past, but I just find it's not worth it. Look at this solder. Check this solder out. Looking perfect. Then I'll pull my heat shrinks out back. And if it's too hot, when you pull it slowly, it'll just get stuck. But you can just see here that that is perfect. There we go. You can use the soldering iron to make this heat shrink, but the best is always using a heat gun. So let's get our heat gun. Watch your fingers. Heat gun this thing away. There we go. Looking perfect. Alright, so I don't have a VTX on here. I don't have anything that could short circuit, which would be this positive lead, this positive lead. This is not touching. I'm going to power this on for the first time, and doing that, I'm going to use a smoke stopper. Here's my smoke stopper. If you get one of these from TBS, they're really good. One thing I want to mention though, put tape or something on the back of this because it is conductive, and if it's touching carbon, you could get a fire because of a smoke stopper, or you can get smoked because of a smoke stopper. Because the way these are shipped from TBS, underneath here, you see I put tape on mine, 3 layers of tape actually, because I did get a fire because of this thing. So yeah, here we go. Connect this. What does a smoke stopper do? Well, it stops. The smoke stopper will stop if you connected something wrong. There's a shunt in here that will disconnect the electricity, so you probably won't short circuit anything on the board. I'm gonna connect this. It should make dee-dee-dee, not the last dee, because the flight controller has not been programmed. Don't be alarmed. What I want to see is if all 4 motors make a noise and move a little bit, and if the Crossfire comes online. So this should just work right now. We have nothing on the positive that could short circuit. Here we go. There we go. Perfect. Very good. We're going to have a nice flying quad in a couple of minutes. All right. Now, what can we do? We are not going to put on the Vista yet. We're just going to check all these cables. I'm going to twist these, but before I twist them, you're going to see that I lay them down like this, and then hold here and twist like so. And you're going to see why in a minute, because look at this. Ta-da! Huh? How about that? Looks pretty sweet, huh? I'll twist a little bit more, twist a little bit more. And then when I grab here, I'll twist all the way. I will cut it later on, for sure. And then, this one here, I'll bring that up with these here. So untwist and twist. There we go. And that just be out of the way like so. You see how clean this is starting to become? I bet the cameraman's liking this because this is his quad. All right, let's put on let's build all these on here. So we'll cut to when that's done. Now that we've got these on here, these little risers, standoffs is what they're called, I'm going to pull these cables in the best, nicest way I can. And check this out. Put my Vista on top of here and more or less figure out how much cabling that I'm gonna need and cut it out. And I'm gonna need more or less around here, I think. Yeah, that's gonna be pretty fine. Cut that out. There we go, we don't need that. Put the Vista aside and then just tin these cables up. I'm not going to use my nails because, yeah, I've said that 5 times now, so I'm not going to say it again, but yeah, there we go. Do the negative cable. Make sure there's lots of wire in there, that you don't cut away too much wire. You only want to take away the plastic or whatever this is here. Oh, come on, man. The silicone. And this one's proven to be harder than I thought. There we go. Need to inspect that in a bit. See if that was good enough. Alright. The green one. Okay. Just gonna inspect. Yes, that's very fair enough. And we're going to tin these. Never breathe this stuff in. So can you see that I pulled this away from the flight controller? You don't want this close to the flight controller because you don't want any solder to fall on it. Tin that one. And we're also gonna tin the positive lead. Now there is a little caveat with this thing that you must not miss. That is especially the positive but also the negative in a bit. You need to make sure that there is not a lot of this sticking out because it could cause a short circuit. It is a little flaw from Caddx Vista in my opinion, but if you know what you're doing, it will not be a problem. I have not heard anybody do a mistake because of it, but if you look at here, the way this goes, the positive is the first one. If you solder it too high up, it'll touch the antenna, and the antenna is negative conducting, so you could short circuit your system. All right, now here's some tricks for you guys. Unscrew this one, unscrew this one a bit. I also like to unscrew these just for fun. Make it all loose, and then just unscrew this whole screw. Put it somewhere where you won't lose it, like I usually do. Grab your little tweezers. Pull that out, put that together with the screws, that way you can find the screw later on. And then you're gonna see it says V, G, RX, and TX. The RX and the TX are not tinned, so I don't know why they wouldn't be, because the other ones are. You're not gonna need the last ones unless you are using a DJI remote controller. You will need the last 2, and you will have to solder those to maybe these TX or those TX points. Now remember, I am using a flight controller that I chose. If you choose another flight controller, the points of where you would solder would of course be very different. There we go. Okay. Oh, and do not use 411 flight controllers. I don't recommend those. Only 405 and 722. Okay, so let's try to put that like so, and we'll grab this and we'll try and touch here. That's not the best. So redo it, you take it away. Oh, actually, ooh, that looks good. That looks perfect. Let's do the ground. See how long the ground is. It's a little bit too long in my opinion. Let's just see what it ends up like if I pull it down a little bit more here. So I want to show you guys a little trick you can do, but you really need to make this thing go in there. There we go. No, it's so finicky. There we go. Okay, now that's actually pretty good. as I always say, grab it, pull a bit on it, and see if it holds. Because if it doesn't, you would lose video in the air. Now we're gonna find out that the, since I started over, it's hard to see, but let's try and lift it. There we go. The RX is the yellow. So the yellow is the TX, and the TX is the last one. So it's gonna be green and yellow. As you can see, this green is pretty long. So we'll have to trim it down a bit. Trim that down like more or less over here. I could maybe trim it down even a little bit more. There we go. So what did I say? The yellow was the RX. So RX is TX, that's the last one, so it's green, exactamundo. All right, let's put this back on like so. Grab the green one. Make sure we line this up perfectly here. All right. And I'm gonna try and grab this little mother sucker. And boom. There we go. And the yellow one, just bend that into place and boom. Now, don't be afraid to try and yank a little bit on these things, see that they're good. All right, before we put the antenna on here, because you never, ever, ever power on a system without an antenna, without any antenna, because antennas are the resistors, and if you don't have them there, you can end up burning it. Now, we did print some stuff. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna stick this through, and one thing that I need to show you guys about the Caddx Vista antenna is, if I put that on here, so let's just show you guys that when I have this here, it's not gonna reach pretty good. You see that? So here's the trick. Grab one of these tweezers, you cut into it like so. Yes, I know that it hurts. People see me do this and they're like, oh my God, are you crazy? Yes, I am. All right, and like so. You could leave the bottom part if you wanted to, but I usually do it like this. And then where did I put that thing? Here we go. Boom. Push that. I push it all the way in first. Turn it around. Then you want to push this in like so with your thumb, really like just feel it slowly, not too hard, and then just go harder and harder while you're wiggling it. It'll go right into place. Here comes the easy part, and I'm gonna say it. I'm always bad mouthing Joshua Bardwell because people will do stuff he says and not understand what they're doing. I actually learned this off him, so thank you, Bardwell. I was doing this the wrong way. This is so much easier. It would take me ages to do these. Boom. That's the way you do it. Thank you, Bardwell. Okay. Put that back in. Now remember, I untightened all 4 screws. I'll tighten this one all the way first. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I have bought Caddx Vistas where the bottom ones were loose. Oh, look at that! Look at that! Look, all loose, all loose. So it's a reoccurring event. All right, that looks good. That's going to be in place. And then push this down. There we go. Pull this all the way out there and push this down in this hole. You see it's not going in that easy. What do? Let me show you guys. Now check this out. How easy was that? Boom. Easy peasy. Nice. Look at that. So we've done that. We're also gonna grab this little guy. And we're gonna ask the cameraman, did you bring your tango too?
Yes.
Good. All right, let's heat this guy up a bit. So what I do here is I just heat it up just a little bit. See it start shrinking. Don't let it go. And then, there we go. It's not shrinking that well. It's high quality heat shrink. What happens when you hold it? Oh my god, this is being finicky. Shit, man. There, nah, had it in the wrong setting. Okay. All right, we good. Then I'm gonna stick this down here. Later on, I'm gonna use zip tie or something to keep it in place. I haven't decided yet. Every quad build is for some reason different because we never have the exact same parts in stock. So I'll pass this aerial, the antenna will go underneath, and I'll show you guys the famous Mr. Steele Immortal L. And so right now, as you can see, it's hard to get through. I'll just undo the flight controller just a little bit on this side. Lift it up, and it goes straight through. Supposedly. There we go. Boom. And stick that all the way out here. And there's a couple of ways of mounting that later on, and I'll show you guys why you would do one or the other, in what instances that would be worth it. So I'm gonna look at this, and now that I'm gonna put a zip tie on here, it's super, super important that that zip tie, I must have it here somewhere. There we go, here's the zip tie. So it's super important when you put the zip tie that you don't hit the button, because then you'd be flying and the button would be pressed down for a reason, or you boot up and the button's pressed down and you don't have any signal. So what I like to do is like this, and when I tighten it, it's the way you tighten it. But I don't want to do this, tighten it yet, because I'm probably going to put the cables for the Vista in here as well. So let's look at this. And now you need to start calculating stuff. Also, this, you see this press nut, the silvery part is downwards. So this goes like that. Very good. This is gonna come up through. I can't remember if it's this hole or not. Let me just check. Yeah, it doesn't go through the hole. It comes through the side here. Good. Not this side, that side, because if it comes through this side, the propeller can hit it. All right, like so. That's looking mighty perfect. All right, now we're gonna go get the screws from this little box. And they give you a couple of screws here. I think they have in the past given you different sizes. Now you get 4 of the same size, if I'm correct. And I don't think they're gonna fit for us. Nope. If you look at this, it's just not gonna grab enough. So we're gonna have to go to our screw box. You should have a bunch of extra screws. And I'm gonna see how far in this goes to see if I have any leeway. I think this screw might just be a little bit too long. As you can see, this would be too long. So we need something in between these two. If we could find that, would be perfect. All right, so the audio is back. So I decided to use the screws that I said were too long. They were actually not too long, and we're putting those in right now. All right, and these 3D prints by Laurin are really good. Laurin is, by the way, the owner of FPV Frames. I just outed his name if anybody wants to look it up. And this is not screwing in like I want. That moment the screw says screw you. And come on, baby. It's not finding its way. There we go. Alright. And you don't need to tighten that too much. You can actually almost tighten it all the way. There we go. Because you want to be able to tilt it. You might want to change some settings while you're filming. So, you're probably thinking, this guy's crazy, he's going to leave this thing dangling? I'm not going to leave this thing dangling. Don't worry, guys. Alright, so then I will roll the excess cable. I will point this up as much as I would ever dare fly it. And then put that like this. Remember I said I won't close? This is why. Because I'm going to want to use this zip tie to hold down, give this slack, this is a lot of slack, and use this to hold down. So here we go. And look that it's not touching the bind button. It's not. Look that the cables would not come loose. It's not. This looks pretty good. Snip. You can probably wait if you want with that little last snip. How does this look? This looks pretty decent. All right. Now you're wondering, but David, still we don't understand how you're going to do with the loose Vista on top. That part is coming, I promise you. All right. Put this like so. Now you see I put this sleeve on here. That is why, because otherwise sometimes it's here on the carbon and it'll cut and it'll do a short circuit and you lose your shit. You don't want to lose your shit. All right. Before I used to put a little bit of double-sided tape, which adds height, which is not good. And also, if I don't put the double-sided tape, this will act as a heat shrink. Remember I said this was conductive? So the carbon will act as a heat sink. We like that. We need that. All right. Now, let's start putting some of these in place. So I'll just put two opposing ones just to give me a general idea. There we go. One. Get a second one. It always looks like there's going to be screws missing, but usually there isn't. All right, I got two opposing ones. And then I'll have a look at this thing and see that everything is in place. Yes, it is. And I'm going to be honest, I've probably never done a build where I did not forget anything, so I'm pretty impressed myself. I did forget something while I said that now, but that's just tightening the FC, and that we're going to do by holding this. Boom. Not tighten it too much, please, guys and girls. There we go. Tighten this one as well. And there we go. Tighten this one. Sometimes, yeah, there we go. Perfecto. Now, remember I was telling you I was a big fan of these things. This is what solved my issue with this frame, because I hated this frame before I found out about this thing. So this thing, what I do with it is I thread it through underneath. Not the easiest thing, because you want to be, you don't want the cables to be tangled. So, I mean, it's going to be hard to explain on film, but I go through it from the back, like so, and then I just thread it gently forward, gently, not pulling it too hard. All right, take that out, like so. Really gently. If a solder comes off, you did a bad solder job, but yeah, gently. And from this side in, all right, guys? And then go on top, come from the top, up here. And I'm not going to tighten this until I've activated the air unit, and I'll explain why. Because you want access to the USB port, which could be a pain in the bosom. All right, and we'll go through here as well, and then just try and hold this thing like so, and bum 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 bum, bum 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 bum, bum 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 bum. And now I won't tighten it. I'll just leave it a little bit half loose, like that, because I want to activate the FC. And I'm gonna look through it. Now you can see there's a huge space here. Perfect. Just want to make sure nothing is touching while I activate this. because I'm going to go and activate this very soon. So I'm going to be pulling it like that, so I have access to the USB port. I have access to this USB port. Awesomeness, and I'll show you guys how to...
Tá a gravar.
Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I've powered up the drone, and I'm going to connect it to the DJI system to activate the air unit. So we plugged in the USB. We're going to click on air unit, start activation, confirm your account, all this bullshit. Probably going to have to give my password for the 59th time. Actually, no. Alright, activation success. Now we're going to see if we need to update it. We don't want to do no survey. And let's see what this is shipped with. We just got these, so we don't know. Yeah, it's updating. Now, you don't want to let this go too hot. As it's touching the carbon, the way that we mounted this, I doubt it will. But from time to time, I'll blow on it, like, you know, just check it, how hot it is. It's still not hot, so I'll just let this go. And let's see this thing update. So it's downloading it, and then it'll just update it. When it's done, if you want to fly a little bit on the illegal gray zone side, you can put a file on there called the NACO file, and that will give you more range. I'm not going to teach you how to do that because in your country it might be illegal. So go online and find out how to do it. All right.
Tá.
Okay. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to put emuflight on this. You would probably want to put, it's just because I have such amazing settings for this in emuflight. I will make Betaflight. Craft name, I'm going to call this one the VASCO. Camera tilt, I'm just going to put 5 for fun. I'm not going to use the cinematic yaw. Then we are using a Crossfire, so we'll put that in there. And maximum arm angle 180 degrees, which means that you can flip it over or arm it when it's upside down, and you're going to need that if you want to do turtle mounting. We're going to go and look at all this. All this looks pretty good. I know for a fact that I want 4.65 on the modal idle throttle value, so when it comes down it doesn't do this. All this looks good. I'm probably going to reverse the motors, but not yet, as I just want to test all this stuff. I'm going to hit the save and reboot. Then I'm going to go into the receiver tab, and here I want to put TAER because I'm using a Tango. All right, and it's an AETR. When you get this, I'm going to power it on. As this is a brand new Crossfire unit, it's already in bind mode. I'm going to hold down menu. Then I'm going to go to Crossfire menu. Then I'm going to go to Tango 2XF, which is Crossfire, and hit the bind button. Now, I'm going to keep this at a little bit of a distance because you don't want two antennas too close to each other. It says update micro receiver, enter yes I want to. It's going to update this. It's going to take a little bit of time. We'll be right back. Why don't you guys go have yourself a cup of coffee. Alright, so it says RX updating, don't interrupt, wait. It's going to say binding. It's going to do a bunch of bullshit. So you can see on this link here, it's green and it started making noises. This is totally normal. It's beeping because we asked it to beep. We have a setting here for it to beep when the battery is low and the battery is low. If you look at the Crossfire unit, it's still blinking. So it's still not 100% updated. It needs to go 100% green, which is going to do very soon. So we're going to go out here. Look at this. It's still not good. So we're going to wait a little bit longer. It is bound, but for some reason I'm not getting a signal. So I'm gonna go into the menu here, and if it's not this, I'll just cut it. But no, this Betaflight config shit. Crossfire menu, Crossfire Tango. Oh, so there it is. It's got the that was weird, very weird. There we go. Crossfire Nano, RX. Everything looks fine. So if you did do your RX and your TX the wrong way around, you could switch them here if you want to. I don't think it's that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to reboot it. That's what I'm going to do. So turn it off, wait a couple seconds, turn it back on, see if the light still blinking, which I don't like. It's not supposed to blink, so I might just have to redo this. So what I could do is go into Crossfire. It's not supposed to do this. So I'm just gonna rebind it. To rebind it, you get one of these. You find the bind button. You press that down. If you can find it. You can hardly see it there. Okay, so we had a little bit of problems with the Crossfire binding. It is a pain in the ass. There's lots of videos to explain to you how to do it if it fails. We've got it sorted out now. So let me show you something. You go to ports. You want to put the serial RX. We remember it was a 3. And we know that the DJI Air unit or the Caddx is going to be on UART 6. So I'll take that away and I'll put that like this. This looks perfect. Hit the save and reboot. Don't mind the beeping. This is a setting that we have for low battery. And now you can see the throttle is good. If this is wonky, it's because you need to have this T-A-E-R, and not A-E-T-R, which it could sometimes be in. But basically now we have this. We go to the modes. You'll have the add range. So for us, that would be auto. So I will do this. Now it knows it's in aux 1. So I'll do that. For the angle, I'll hit the add range, move my angle buttons. Great. And then I'm gonna go into the flip. I have beeper and flip on the same button. So that's gonna be this one. And then the flip over crash on the same button as well. Hit the save. And basically, you want to go and do your PID tune. All right, so we've updated the air unit from Caddx. We've done all our settings that we wanted to do on the flight controller. We've checked so the motors are spinning in the correct direction. I'm going to be running this motors out. Now I'm going to cut this. I'm going to put the Immortal L, mount this on here, put the thing for the camera on here, and we are basically done. So let's start off with putting this on. So I'm just quickly gonna have to run and get my screwdriver. Don't film my mess, man. What are you, crazy? People gonna think, what you all gonna think about this? It's not the bat layer, it's the goo layer. Alright, here we go. And you want it tight, but not way too tight, because it'll go straight through the TPU. Depending on how well printed it is, that feels pretty good. Can't even get it out. And this one too, so I'll just tighten it until it starts getting really tight and do the back one. So that's why you want that metal piece we talked about before, the press nut on the bottom side, because that's where this is going to grab onto, and that's going to make it really nice and juicy. Alright, that's where this is going to fit like that on there. Perfecto. Alright, now the Mr. Steele L. How do we do it? So I want it to come all out onto this, so that way is where it's going. So that's one. So I will just put that as absolutely tight as I can, so I'll get it in a good position. Then I'll grab my pliers and I'll grab them like so. And with my nail, I don't know if you guys can see that, I'll pull. It's really good. Then I'll do one going upwards as well. So I'll stick that through and I'll think about how I want this mounted. It's going to be like so. That means that this will go here. And that one will go through here. Alright. and then sticking it in the middle of those two cables, and I want it to come up. Using my pliers, I'll pull it from here. Damn it, that Billy Bob came loose. What the hell? Not the easiest thing to get through here. I should probably speed up this in the video. Oh, there we go. Got it. Boom. Okay. Pull this down there. So it's messing with my capacitor right now, so I'll move the cap out of the way. There we go. That is just perfect. Alright, so I found some heat shrink, and I'll put that on top of this one. And I'll down it like that. And I'll push that down as far as I can. And it's hitting the cap, but there we go. Perfect. Heat that baby up. There we go. Boom. Heat it up good on all sides and corners, and the top just in your fingertips. And then do the exact same thing for the other side. Alright, so this is how I make the Immortal L's a la Mr Steele style. And let me just try and get this a little bit tighter. There we go. So there you go. That's an Immortal L, and that will make sure that if the quad is like this, you have signal on this one, and if the quad is like that, you have signal on this one. For me, this is what's worked the best, and I've been flying this way for many years, and I really think it's the best way, in my opinion. All right, now what do we got left to do? Cut this baby up. So we'll do that, which is not easy to show on camera, but basically cut there and cut there. Now, don't throw this away. You can still use this. This is gonna be our battery strap-o. Before we put the battery strap on, let's put a battery pad on this thing. I saw a battery pad. This is the part where I get to where everything is such a mess. I don't know where I have anything. But I do know that I do have a battery pad here somewhere. Somebody's probably seeing it right now in the video going, dude, it's right there, you can't see it. And there it is. Alright, so these battery pads are so big. What I do is I measure them. And I look here and I see it's more or less over there. And I'll cut it. And don't throw this away. You can still reuse this part. I'll show you how in a bit. So I'll grab this and put that straight over the nice Swiss Plus, making FPV frames unhappy with me, but that's the way it is. And that will prevent it from slipping. Perfectamundo. Put these battery straps. They're not ideal, but they do the job and they're super light, and I'm starting to like them more and more. So yeah, why not? I'll put that on the back thing here, strip that through, like so. Bring it more or less there. I'll keep it in here, and then you just tighten it and just stick it in like so. You're good. Now let's get the camera mount on here. And there are no screws that come with this, so what you do is you stick this through, you look for a screw that will fit. I think I got a couple here, and let's see if I can find one. It's an M3. This one will do just fine. Do you want to know how long it has to be? I'll do the measurement. I know somebody's going to ask. I don't want to put it in the description because I'll forget. 15 millimeters. We need another spool diver. There we go. And we're going to start feeding this thing through here slowly. You want to make sure that it makes it, so a little bit of force, but not too much. And you can see it doesn't look like it's gonna fit, but trust me, this is the best way, because then you can just, when you crash, it doesn't like break the camera as much. Then we're gonna need we can actually use this nylon nut. Actually, we won't. My cameraman stole my stuff. There we go, we'll use this one. Here we go. And when you get to the end, you just scroll this one back in there. This way you have it with your fingers. Boom, 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 boom. And as you can see, this hardly moves. There we go. So, props and fly. That's what we gotta do. All right, let's do that. Let's fly this thing. Now we're gonna power this on for the first time. What I like to do is, as soon as I power it on, is I yaw to the left and yaw to the right. I'll show you guys. And don't be as close as I am. I know what I'm doing. So I'll yaw it now to the left, right? That means I've got the controls correctly. I'll walk away a little bit, take off slowly. See that it doesn't go to the moon, but it has my settings, so it should be fine. All right, reballing. Yeah, that feels good. Yeah. Bashko, you got yourself a drone.